I was mid-sip into my morning coffee, the rich warmth anchoring me in the chaos of a hotel conference lobby, when a voice rang out. Sharp. Too loud. Far too familiar. "Relax," he said to the group around him, smirking like always. "She's just admin fancy badge, sure. Same old desk job." A few chuckled. Not a lot. Just enough for every laugh to sting. You ever feel a sound slap across your skin without being touched? That was it. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. My name is Lena Matthews, and for as long as I've been breathing, my family has seen me as the one with the calendar. The helper. The fixer. The one who organizes everyone else's chaos, but never causes any of her own. But today isn't one of those days. Because today, I'm not just someone's little sister loitering around the edge of a conversation, clutching a clipboard and pretending I belong. I'm standing at the center of the very leadership summit my team and I spent half a year building. From scratch. Every detail, every speaker, every strategic invite, we built this. And the brother calling me, just admin, has no clue what room he's really standing in. He's still going. Of course he is. She loves the stuff. Schedules, spreadsheets, name tags. You know, making sure the coffee flows and the pens never run dry. More laughter. My chest tightens like a vice. But I don't drop my gaze. Not this time. His wife, Sophie, tilts her head, eyes narrowing ever so slightly as she takes me in. Her gaze flicks to the logo on the massive banner behind me, then back to the badge on my chest. "So, Lena," she says, smiling like someone offering a fragile olive branch, "what exactly do you do here?" And just like that, silence falls. The kind that's thick. Anticipating. Waiting for the old Lena to shrink, to say something small and tidy that won't disrupt the family narrative. But that story isn't mine anymore. I inhale slowly, years of swallowed words pushing against my ribs. And I let one single word form on my tongue, one word that's going to unravel everything they thought they knew about me. But before I tell you what I said, what stopped that entire room cold? Tell me in the comments. What time is it where you are? And where are you listening from? I want to see just how far this little family secret is about to travel. Let me tell you something. People think the deepest wounds come from strangers. They don't. They come from the people who know exactly where to aim. Growing up, my brother was the sun we all orbited. His name, Nathan. 2 years older than me. He built a volcano in 8th grade science and got his face on the school newsletter. That was the day the whole family decided, this one's going places. Brains of the family, Dad would beam, slapping him on the back at every cookout. And Lena, someone would chime in. Oh, she's our little organizer. Our planner. Every great man needs a good assistant. Aw. Ha ha ha. So cute, right? I would smile. Nod. Clear the plates. It started with small things. I color-coded Nathan's binders, typed his assignments when his chicken scratch was illegible, ran back to school when he forgot his textbook. If I asked for help on my own stuff, "Relax, Lena," he'd say. "You're good with organizing. I'm good with doing." That script stuck, solidified like cement. By the time college rolled around, Nathan was studying engineering and fielding internship offers. I was working part-time in an office and attending night classes, because no one thought my education was worth investing in. "You'll always find work, honey," Mom said one night as she folded laundry. "Admin jobs are everywhere." That's practical. She meant it as comfort. It sounded like a sentence. And then came that one dinner, spring break. Nathan had friends over. I was allowed to sit at the table, but I wasn't part of the conversation. "So where do you work, Lena?" someone asked. I told them, small firm, but I ran everything from client schedules to financial tracking. The place would fall apart without me. Nathan laughed. "She's just admin," he said, pouring himself more wine. "She keeps the printer from crying." Everyone laughed. My parents said nothing. I laughed, too. Because what else do you do when your worth has already been made into a punchline? That phrase clung to me for years like gum on a shoe. Just admin. At Christmas. At weddings. Every time someone asked what I did, Nathan would jump in. "She's basically our in-house secretary." "Right, Lena?" "Fixes calendars." refills the staplers. He thought it was harmless. He had no idea that what he thought was beneath him was building me from the inside out. I learned where the power lives inside companies, not always at the top, but with the ones who sit quietly, watching, noting, knowing. I took every promotion they handed me: administrative assistant, administrative coordinator, operations manager. Each step gave me more control, more oversight, more leverage. But at home, I was still the one asked to email the Thanksgiving invite. I could have shown them the plaques, the bonuses, the execs who told me I was the glue holding everything together. But I didn't. Because for years, I told myself it wasn't worth the fight. It's just family, right? But the more I grew, the more his jokes didn't feel like jokes. They felt like a refusal to see me. Not just overlook me, but actively bury me beneath the narrative where I could never rise. And then came the day I got moved to a new department. Not demoted, promoted. Where detail met strategy. Where I learned that one word, acquisitions, was going to rewrite the entire way my family saw me. You won't believe what happened next. Have you ever been dismissed for what you do? Had someone diminish your role like it didn't matter? Drop a fire if you've ever wanted to prove them all wrong. Because in part 2, we're going back to the morning of that summit. The quiet before the storm. The moment I saw Nathan's company name on my desk and realized he had no idea who he was about to stand across from. And neither did I. The morning of the summit, I arrived before the sun did. The convention center was still half asleep, fluorescent lights humming softly, cleaning staff wheeling their carts down the hallways. The air smelled like burnt coffee and new carpet. I scanned my badge. Green light. "Morning, Ms. Matthews," the security guard said with a polite nod. "Big day. Big day." I echoed, my voice calm, steady, grounded. I wasn't here tagging along on someone's guest pass. I wasn't someone's little sister hoping to bump into an opportunity. I was one of the people who built this event. Every detail, the speakers, the tracks, the flow of the rooms, the partnerships we wanted to court, me and my team made it happen. My official title? Administrative Operations and Acquisitions Coordinator. Long, boring, forgettable. But what it meant? Simple. I was one of the people who decided which companies we considered for partnership or investment. And the file that had landed in my queue 2 weeks ago, it had Nathan's company logo stamped across the top. At first, I just stared at it, like the letters might rearrange themselves if I blinked hard enough. It wasn't his company. He wasn't the founder. He wasn't even an exec. Just a senior project manager in a mid-level department. But the flagship project they were pitching, the one that caught our attention, it had his name all over it. I remember the meeting when I brought it up. My director raised an eyebrow. "Conflict of interest?" he asked. "You and your brother talk shop?" I almost laughed. "No. As far as my family knows, I still print name tags." He grinned. "All right. If we move forward, legal will loop in. For now, I want your honest assessment. Numbers don't lie." And that's what I gave. The numbers. The missed deadlines. The shaky timelines. The dependency on one project manager. The culture of over-promising. I didn't mention Nathan's name. I didn't have to. The paper trail spoke for itself. Have you ever seen someone from your past suddenly appear in your professional life, and they had no clue who they were dealing with? Let me know in the comments. It's wild, right? Back at the summit, as the main doors opened and the lobby filled with high-level executives, CEOs, analysts, deal-makers, I watched from the sidelines. Headset in my ear, clipboard in hand. To most people there, I was just part of a team running logistics. To a few, I was the person they wanted in every single acquisitions meeting. Because I remembered what other people forgot. Because I caught what others missed. But to Nathan, I was still the girl who knew how to align folding chairs in a perfect row. That was about to change. I was reviewing signage in one of the breakout halls when I saw it. The logo. Nathan's company. They were setting up a sponsor booth. Pull-up banners. Demo equipment. Glossy brochures with buzzwords like agile and revolutionary tech stack. I recognized a few of the staff from the due diligence notes. They wheeled in cases and laid out swag bags with neon pens and branded water bottles. And there, on the corner of the table, Nathan's name tag. My heart skipped, but not out of fear. out of sheer anticipation. "Hey," a voice said behind me. It was my boss, Mark, holding a tablet, looking relaxed but focused. "First sessions are locked in. You good?" "Yeah," I nodded. He glanced toward the booth. "That's your brother's company, right?" Hum. "You okay working this with them here? We can reassign floor coverage if it's weird." And for a second, just a second, I thought about every joke Nathan had ever made. Every time he said I was just admin. Every time he clipped my wings in front of our parents, his friends, even strangers. "I'm fine," I said. "The work is the work." Mark watched me for a moment, like he was checking for cracks. "Good," he said. "There's a closed door with their VP later. We'll need your notes." "Got it," I said. But what I didn't say, Nathan had no idea that his big brag about attending the summit, asterisk, big dogs only, you'd be bored, asterisk, was going to land him in the same room with someone whose name was on the review notes. Mine. Hours later, the event was alive. The hum of conversation, clinks of coffee cups, business cards passed like candy. And then I saw her, Sophie, my sister-in-law, moving through the crowd toward me. "Hey," I said, genuinely surprised. "You made it." She looked a little out of breath. Of course, Nathan wouldn't shut up about this event. "Plus, I wanted to see you in your element." She looked around, eyes wide. "This is huge, Lena. You made this." "Me and a lot of people," I said carefully. "Oh, please," she smirked. "I've seen your spreadsheets. You are a lot of people." I chuckled, a little bitter, but a little warmed. We caught up, small talk, safe topics, until Nathan appeared. He slid up beside her, looping an arm around her like a movie scene. "There you are," he said to her. Then to me with a grin. "Hey, little sis, you busy keeping the printer happy?" There it was, the script, delivered effortlessly, like a reflex he didn't even notice. "Something like that," I replied flat. What he didn't see was the way Sophie glanced between us, her brows tugging just slightly. As more of his coworkers joined, Nathan flipped into performance mode, bragged about projects, name-dropped software tools, threw around words like scalability and synergy. Someone leaned in and asked, "Wait, she's your sister? Didn't you say she works here?" "Yeah," Nathan said. "She's one of the admin folks. Make sure there's coffee and chairs. She loves it." They laughed. He laughed, and I felt the heat rise in my throat again. Familiar. Ugly. But different this time. Because I didn't flinch. Not anymore. Over the loudspeaker, an announcement chimed. "Our next session will begin in 10 minutes. Please make your way to the main hall." And I remember the keynote speaker's words from earlier. You can tell who understands leadership by how they treat the people who make their lives easier. I looked over at Nathan, all charm and confidence, still coasting on the belief that he owned the room. But I was no longer standing behind the curtain. I was the room. In part 3, someone asks me the question Nathan never wanted anyone to ask. "What do you actually do here, Lena?" And when I answer, let's just say the laughter dies fast. You don't want to miss what happens next. Let me know if you're ready for part 3, and I'll keep it rolling. The air in the lobby was thick, coffee, cologne, tension. People clustered around tall tables, their voices a blur of buzzwords and small talk. Laughter echoed off the glass walls. I was checking with the AV team near the tech booth when I heard it. "Lena!" I turned. Sophie was weaving through the crowd, cheeks flushed, holding 2 cups. "I grabbed you a coffee," she said, breathless but smiling. "Oat milk, right?" My heart softened, just a little. "Thanks." She glanced around. "This is massive. You helped build all this." "I did." I nodded, my voice light, controlled. Sophie shook her head. "Honestly, I'm floored. This place runs like clockwork." "I mean, of course it does." She grinned. "You were always scary good with systems." A small laugh slipped out of me. It caught me off guard. Warm. Genuine. But just as I let myself enjoy the moment, Nathan appeared. "Of course. Hey," he said, sliding an arm around Sophie's waist, interrupting the caffeine exchange. Then to me, with a smirk already forming, "Still keeping the signage aligned and the snack stock, sis?" He didn't wait for an answer. Instead, he turned to one of his coworkers. "This is my sister, Lena. You know, admin genius. Calendars and checklists. She practically lives in Excel. Chuckles all around. The lazy kind. The safe kind. The kind that assumes everyone's still on the same page. But they weren't. Not anymore. One of the men, blonde, tall, confident, tilted his head. Wait, do you get to sit in any of the strategy stuff today, or is it mostly logistics? Old Lena would have laughed, brushed it off, said something self-deprecating and walked away. Instead, I looked him straight in the eye and said, Depends what you mean by strategy. Sophie blinked. Her head tilted, like she was solving a riddle she'd never realized was in front of her this whole time. Nathan clapped his hands. All right. We should let her get back to her admin wizardry. If she talks to us too long, the pens might stop refilling themselves. More laughter. But it didn't hit me this time. It slid off. I was done being the punchline in his stand-up routine. The overhead speakers chimed again. Main hall sessions will begin shortly. The group started shifting, gathering their things. But Sophie didn't move. Instead, she turned to me, hesitating. Then she said it. Lena, what do you actually do here? Her tone wasn't mocking. It was curious. Careful. The lobby didn't fall silent, but it might as well have. In my body, everything paused. The weight of that question. The dare. The chance. I could have laughed. Could have shrugged. Could have let Nathan do it again, answer for me. But this time, I didn't look at him. I looked at her. And I said it. One word. Clear. Steady. I work in acquisitions. The sound cracked the air like a lightning bolt. The conversation at the next table paused. Someone's spoon clattered against a saucer. Heads turned, subtle and not so subtle. Nathan's group went quiet. A heavy kind of quiet. Acquisitions, someone repeated, voice uncertain. I nodded. Administrative operations and acquisitions. I help evaluate which companies we partner with. Or don't. The last word hung there, sharp and final. Sophie's eyes dropped to the badge clipped to my blazer. She blinked, like she was seeing it for the first time. Her gaze flicked to her own lanyard. Guest of Nathan's company. And then I saw it, realization. You mean, she started, voice low, you're part of a team that reviews companies like ours? I didn't answer immediately. Because I didn't have to. Nathan's coworker, same one who made the strategy joke, shifted awkwardly. So you're one of the people deciding if we get greenlit? I make recommendations, I said calmly. Final calls are above me, but my analysis matters. The silence after that, it wasn't empty. It was charged. Sophie looked like someone had just handed her a puzzle piece she didn't know was missing. You never said that, she whispered. No one ever asked, I replied. Then, slowly I turned to Nathan. For the first time in years, he didn't have a comeback ready. His mouth opened slightly, like he was reaching for the next joke, but it never came. Wait, he said, blinking. Are you telling me you're one of the people deciding if we get bought? I'm one of the people deciding if your company makes it a serious consideration, I said, voice steady. Measured. Sharp as glass, but not cruel. Nathan flushed. His smirk died in real time. Are you kidding me? He said. Come on, you're just. He caught himself. But we all knew the word he almost said. Just admin. Only this time. No one laughed. Tell me honestly, if you had one word to stop the room, to reclaim your story, what would it be? Drop it in the comments. One word can change everything. In part 4, we walk into a meeting that could decide Nathan's future, and I'm sitting at the table. Not as a sister, but as someone with a say. What happens next? You're not ready. The speaker system chimed again. People began drifting into the main hall, but the air around us, me, Nathan, Sophie, his team, stayed frozen. Sophie's coffee trembled, just slightly in her hand. Nathan stared at me, searching for the old Lena. The one who'd laugh, back down, soften the truth, so he didn't have to sit with it. But she wasn't there. David, Sophie said, her voice tight, her hand on his arm. Maybe we should go find seats. He didn't answer. Couldn't. His eyes were still locked on me like he was waiting for me to crack, to take it back, to tell him I was joking. But I wasn't. Not this time. Later that day, my boss, Mark, met me near the elevators. You ready? He asked quietly. My stomach fluttered, but my voice, solid. Yeah, let's go. We headed upstairs, past the general sessions, the panel rooms, the catered lunches and sponsor tables, up to the top floor, where the doors were thick, the windows tall, and the carpet muffled every sound except the weight of decisions being made. Inside the conference room, everything gleamed. Chrome fixtures, polished glass, confidence. On one side of the table, our executives. Finance, legal, strategy. On the other, Nathan's company. Their VP, their head of product. Suits sharp, smiles tight. Nathan, not there. This wasn't his level. But his name, it was printed at the top of the document in front of me. Thanks for joining us, our VP said, nodding to the room. Then to me, Lena, you've been leading internal coordination. Walk us through your latest summary. I nodded, swallowed, then spoke, not like someone apologizing, but like someone who belonged in that chair. We've reviewed their performance metrics, I began. There's innovation, yes, but also inconsistencies. Delays. A culture of reactive execution, not sustainable systems. I glanced down at the report, at his name. I didn't pause, because what I was holding wasn't about him. It was about the data, and the data was honest. There are improvements this quarter, I continued, but they appear tied directly to the pressure of this potential partnership, not long-term change. One of our finance leads nodded. They're running hot, he said. Thin margins. Overstretched. The VP on the other side shifted in his chair. We've already addressed most of these issues. I didn't look at him when I answered. There's documentation of recent progress, I said, but leadership style appears unchanged. Short-term patches over long-term cracks. The tension in the room deepened. But no one interrupted me, because this time, I was the one driving the conversation. Our recommendation, I said, is to either pursue a strictly phased partnership with contingencies and oversight or reconsider entirely. The silence afterward wasn't cold. It was considering. Real. Is that still your view after today? Our VP asked me, after interacting with her team. My mind flashed to the lobby, to Nathan's voice echoing, she's just admin, to his jokes, his smirks, his need to shrink me so he could stay tall. Yes, I said clearly. It is. That was when their VP made the mistake. With respect, he said, forced calm in his tone, I'm not sure your operations coordinator has full understanding of the strategic vision we're pursuing. Our VP didn't blink. With respect, he replied, we don't bring people into this room unless their understanding is both deep and trusted. Lena has been one of our most consistent voices across our last 3 successful deals. And in that moment, I felt it, the shift. The invisible labor. It wasn't invisible anymore. Have you ever sat in a room where you weren't expected to speak, and then everyone listened? That feeling. Drop a collision in the comments if you've ever stepped into your power like that. The meeting moved forward. Civil, tense, focused. By the end, we had next steps. Notes. No shouting. No slam doors. But something fundamental had changed. As we filed out into the hallway, Mark fell into step beside me. You were solid, he said. No bias. Just clarity. That's what we need from you. Thanks, I said quietly. Then he added, send me your final recommendation tonight. We'll make a provisional call next week. I nodded. Then my phone buzzed. Nathan, we need to talk. Now. And that's how I ended up outside on the terrace, the city stretching out behind me, glittering with windows and noise and everything I had built without him ever noticing. He was already pacing. As I stepped out, he turned. So it's true, he said. No greeting. No warmth. Just accusation. You're one of the people trying to tank us. I closed the door gently behind me. No, I said. I'm one of the people trying to tell the truth. He laughed, cold, defensive. You just told a room of execs my team isn't good enough. I crossed my arms. I told them what the data shows. You could have warned me, he snapped. You could have helped me. Anger rose in my throat, slow and bitter. Warned you about what? That your team keeps burning out under deadlines you help set? That you overpromise and leave the cleanup to people like me? His face twisted. This is my career, Lena. And this is my job, I said. You always love the rules, huh? He sneered. So perfect. Until it hurts me. I stared at him, heart pounding. You stood in a room full of people and told them I run a printer for a living. That was a joke. No, Nathan, I said. That was a belief. Yours. Said out loud. He flinched. You know what I think, he said, stepping closer. I think you've been waiting for a chance like this. I think you wanted to embarrass me. I shook my head. What I wanted was a brother who saw me. But what I got was someone who needed me to stay small so he could feel big. He exhaled hard. So you're really gonna do this? I'm going to do my job, I said. Without bias. Without editing the truth to keep you comfortable. He stared at me like he didn't recognize the person in front of him. Maybe he didn't. Because for the first time in our lives, I wasn't standing behind him. I was standing eye to eye. In the final part, I send him my report. And the fallout, it changes everything. For my job, my family, and for the version of me I'll never shrink back into. Get ready. That night, I sat at my tiny kitchen table with my laptop open, the city humming softly outside my window. I could still hear Nathan's voice in my head. You always were the rule follower, until it hurt me. And I could still feel the wind on that terrace when I finally told him the truth. About the deal, about the data, about me. I didn't write my report with anger. I didn't lace it with revenge. I just told the truth. Performance metrics. Timeline delays. Reputational risks. And one final line that sealed it. Given the documented patterns, I recommend we do not move forward with the acquisition at this time. I stared at that sentence for a long time. Then I signed my name. And hit send. 3 weeks passed. 3 long, slow, emotionally confusing weeks. The summit faded into memory. I went back to the rhythms of work. Morning coffee, train rides, meetings, emails, but under all of it was a silent buzz. Waiting. Then the email came. Subject. Final decision, Meridian Systems proposal. Nathan's company. I opened it. After review of all documentation and recommendations, we have decided not to proceed with the proposed acquisition of Meridian Systems at this time. I exhaled. It didn't crash into me like a wave. It released me. Not just because it proved I was right, but because it proved I could stand on what I know and not flinch. And that was when my phone started lighting up. First, Sophie. Did you hear about the deal? Then, a call from my mother. I stared at it ringing, pulsing in my hand. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice came through, tight, emotional. Lena, your brother is devastated. He says your company pulled out of the agreement. He says it's because of something you did. Please call me. Of course he did. Of course. I sat still, holding the phone in my palm, the ache of 1,000 past dinners pressing against my chest. All the years they skipped my promotions. All the times they called me our organized one. All the extra labor I gave them for free, just to feel included. Was I the villain now? The cold sister who sabotaged his deal? Or was I just the first one in the family who stopped cleaning up after him? That evening, I finally answered one of her calls. She didn't say hello. She said, "How could you do this to your brother?" "Hi, Mom," I said. "Calm. Kind. Tired. Nice to hear from you." "This isn't the time for jokes," she snapped. "Your brother worked so hard on this. He says you wrote a bad report, that you made him look incompetent." "I wrote an honest report," I said, "based on performance, not feelings." "You know how important this deal was for him," she pushed. "You could have helped. Just this once." And I laughed. Softly. "Just this once." I said, "Mom, I've been helping my whole life. That's the role you assigned me." "This is different," she insisted. "This affects his future." "So does it affect mine," I said. "If I lie in an official report to protect him, that's my integrity gone. That's my future." She went quiet. "You've changed," she said, like it was a bad thing. "I know," I said. "That's the point." "He's in pieces," she whispered. "His bosses are furious. His project's been reassigned. That's between him and his bosses," I said. "Not me." "Families protect each other," she said. "Families respect each other," I replied. "4 years, you watched him tear me down. You laughed at his jokes. You let him shrink me. That was just teasing." "Maybe to you," I said. "But to me, It was a lifetime of being told my work didn't matter. Silence. You never once asked what I actually do for a living, I added. She didn't deny it. Eventually, she whispered, I don't want to lose my children over a business deal. You're not losing me, I said. I'm just not shrinking myself to make space for the version of Nathan you want to believe in. She sniffed. He says you humiliated him. I thought of the lobby, of the moment the room went silent, of the way I stood straighter when I said acquisitions. I told the truth, I said, in a room where he's been lying about me for years. She didn't respond. After we hung up, my phone buzzed all night. Cousins, relatives, messages I hadn't received in years. Not to ask how I was doing, but to ask what I did. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened a message from Sophie. I heard what your mom said. I'm sorry. Can we talk? We met at a quiet cafe 2 days later. She looked tired, eyes puffy, skin pale. How are you? She asked gently. That depends who you ask, I said. According to my mother, I'm the reason Nathan's world is falling apart. And according to you? She asked. I looked at her. According to me, I said. I finally told the truth. She nodded, stirred her coffee, then said something I didn't expect. He's done this to his team too, she said softly. Talked over them, took credit, pushed them until they cracked. I blinked. I believe the version of you he gave me, she admitted. I never questioned it. That's on me. Thank you, I said quietly. That means more than you know. We sat there a while, 2 women untangling years of silence. Before we parted, she looked me in the eye and said, Whatever happens between me and him, I want you to know you did nothing wrong. You drew a boundary. That's allowed. Boundary. Such a small word for something that once felt impossible. Over the next few months, contact with my family faded. They had their group chats, their Sunday dinners, photos without me. Sometimes I got messages like, We miss you. When will you let this go? But they never asked, What do you need to come back? So I built my own life. I mentored young admins, teaching them how to turn invisible work into leverage. I stopped saying yes to everything just to be liked. And sometimes, late at night, I thought of that day in the lobby. Of the way everything fell quiet when I said one word. Of the way Nathan's face crumbled, not because I hurt him, but because I no longer let him erase me. Did it fix everything? No. We didn't hug and cry at Christmas. No one wrote me an apology letter. Real life doesn't always end in a neat bow. But the next time I was at a party and someone asked, What do you do? And a relative started to answer for me. She's our organized one. I stopped them, smiled, and answered for myself. I work in acquisitions, I said. I evaluate which companies are worth our investment and which ones aren't. It's a lot of responsibility. I love it. And this time, the room didn't go quiet because they were shocked I had power over Nathan. It went quiet because they finally understood. I had power all along. Tell me in the comments. And if you've dealt with something similar, share your story. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life. And one last question for you. Have you ever let someone else's version of you become louder than your own? And if you have, what would happen if, just once, you told your story in your own words instead? Maybe it won't silence a room full of people. But maybe, just maybe, it'll be enough to finally change your world.